He served me divorce papers at my mother's funeral while I was pregnant, unaware I just inherited $7 billion. The first handful of dirt hadn't even hit the coffin yet when my husband handed me the envelope. For a moment, I thought it was sympathy, another card, another hollow, "I'm sorry for your loss," to stack on top of the dozen already wilting in my purse. But the look in his eyes wasn't sorrow. It was impatience, cold, calculated. "Sign it when you can," Daniel said under his breath, his voice barely audible over the wind whispering through the cemetery trees. "It's already finalized." My fingers trembled as I took the envelope, my other hand instinctively resting on my stomach. 6 months pregnant. My mother had died just 3 days ago, and now this. "What is this?" I asked, though I already knew. He didn't answer right away. His gaze shifted toward the grave, where 2 men were lowering my mother's casket into the earth. For a second, just a second, I hoped he might show some humanity. "It's better this way," he finally said. "You know it is. Better." The word echoed in my mind like something broken. I stared at him, searching for the man I had married just 3 years ago, the one who used to bring me coffee in bed, who laughed too loudly at bad jokes, who cried the night we found out I was pregnant. But that man was gone. Or maybe he had never been there at all. "You couldn't wait," I whispered. Daniel sighed, like I was the inconvenience. "There's never a good time for these things." A lump rose in my throat, thick and suffocating. Around us, people murmured condolences, unaware that my life was quietly shattering beside the open grave of the woman who had raised me. "I just buried my mother," I said. "And we've been burying this marriage for a year," he replied. His words hit harder than any slap. I looked down at the envelope in my hand. My name was printed neatly across the front. Legal, final, unfeeling. "Why now?" I asked, my voice cracking. He hesitated, just long enough to confirm my worst fear. "There's someone else," he admitted. Of course there was. A bitter laugh escaped me, sharp and unexpected. "How long? Does it matter?" "Yes," I said, meeting his eyes. "It does." He shifted uncomfortably. 6 months. 6 months. The same amount of time I had been carrying his child. The world tilted. I swayed slightly, and for a moment, I thought I might collapse right there beside my mother's grave. "You've been cheating on me since the day we found out I was pregnant," I said slowly, each word slicing deeper than the last. Daniel didn't deny it. "I didn't plan for things to happen this way," he said. "But I've moved on. You should too." Moved on. As if love were a piece of furniture he could just drag out the door. I looked at him. Really looked at him, and something inside me shifted. Not shattered. Not broken. Hardened. "Who is she?" I asked. "It doesn't matter," he repeated, more firmly this time. I nodded, surprising even myself. "You're right. It doesn't." Because suddenly, it didn't. The priest's voice rose, reciting the final prayer. People bowed their heads. I didn't. I was watching my husband. No, my soon-to-be ex-husband, standing beside me like a stranger, holding the door open for the end of our life together. And I realized something terrifying. I wasn't crying. Not for him. Not anymore. The service ended quietly. One by one, people approached me, offering hugs, whispered condolences, gentle squeezes of my hand. I accepted them all with a numb smile, thanking them mechanically. Daniel stayed at a distance. He didn't touch me again. Didn't speak. Didn't even look at me. By the time the last guest left, I was standing alone beside the fresh mound of dirt, the envelope still clutched in my hand. "You should get home," Daniel said finally, checking his watch. "You shouldn't be out too long in your condition." My condition. Like I was an obligation. "I'll stay a little longer," I said. He hesitated. For a moment, I thought he might argue. But then he simply shrugged. "Suit yourself." And just like that, he turned and walked away. No goodbye. No apology. Nothing. I watched him go until his figure disappeared beyond the rows of headstones. Only then did I allow myself to breathe. The silence that followed was heavy, but not unbearable. Slowly, I knelt beside my mother's grave, ignoring the dampness of the ground seeping through my dress. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I didn't see it sooner." A tear slipped down my cheek, followed by another. I thought he loved me. The wind picked up slightly, rustling the leaves above me. It almost felt like an answer. You always told me to trust my instincts, I said, letting out a shaky laugh. Guess I should have listened. I placed my hand on my stomach again, feeling the faintest flutter of movement. I'll be okay, I murmured. I promise. And for the first time since Daniel handed me those papers, I believed it. Excuse me. The voice came from behind me, gentle, unfamiliar. I turned to see an older man standing a few feet away, dressed in a dark suit. He held a leather briefcase in one hand, his expression kind but serious. I'm sorry to interrupt, he said. Are you Emily Carter? I nodded slowly, wiping my tears. Yes, my name is Mr. Whitmore, he said. I was your mother's attorney. A flicker of confusion crossed my face. Attorney. He inclined his head. There are some matters we need to discuss. It's quite important. I glanced at the grave, then back at him. Can it wait? He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. I'm afraid it shouldn't. Something in his tone made my chest tighten. All right, I said, pushing myself to my feet. We walked to a nearby bench, the gravel crunching softly beneath our shoes. I sat down, suddenly exhausted, while he opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. Your mother updated her will shortly before she passed, he began. I frowned. She never mentioned anything. She wanted it to be a surprise, he said gently. A sad smile tugged at my lips. That sounds like her. Mr. Whitmore handed me the folder. I think it's best if you read it yourself. My hands trembled slightly as I opened it. The legal language blurred together at first, my mind still foggy from everything that had happened. But then one number snapped into focus. $7 billion. $7 billion. I blinked, certain I had read it wrong. This can't be right, I said, looking up at him. It is, Mr. Whitmore confirmed. Your mother was the sole owner of Carter Global Holdings. Upon her passing, everything transfers to you. My heart pounded in my ears. No, I said, shaking my head. That's impossible. We were struggling. She worked 2 jobs. We barely. She wanted you to believe that, he said softly. The world tilted again, but this time for a completely different reason. Why? I whispered. To protect you, he replied. She built the company from the ground up, but she kept her ownership hidden. She didn't want you targeted. She wanted you to have a normal life. Tears filled my eyes again, but they felt different now. She was protecting me, I said. She loved you very much, he said. I looked down at the papers in my hands, the numbers still unreal. $7 billion. Daniel's face flashed in my mind. His cold eyes, his dismissive tone, the envelope he had handed me as if I were nothing. A hollow laugh escaped me. He left me today, I said quietly. Mr. Whitmore's expression darkened. I'm sorry to hear that. I shook my head, a strange sense of clarity settling over me. No, I said, don't be. For the first time in a long time, I felt something shift inside me. Not grief, not anger, something stronger. Freedom. The days that followed were a whirlwind of legal meetings, paperwork, and revelations. My mother's life unfolded before me in ways I had never imagined. Boardrooms instead of break rooms, private jets instead of late buses, a legacy hidden beneath years of quiet sacrifice. And through it all, one thing became painfully clear. She hadn't just left me money. She had left me a choice. I could become the kind of person Daniel thought I was, weak, dependent, easy to discard. Or I could become the woman my mother had believed I could be. I chose the latter. 2 weeks later, I signed the divorce papers. Not with shaking hands, not with tears, but with steady resolve. Daniel didn't know about the inheritance. Not yet. And when he finally found out, it wasn't from me. It was from the news. By then, it was too late. Because I was already gone. Building something new, something meaningful, something rooted in everything my mother had taught me about kindness, resilience, and quiet strength. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of what came next. I was ready for it.